Record. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting our Mortal Kombat review. First of all, can you guys see my face?
We can see, yeah, we can see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can see you.
We'll break this into two parts. So after this review ends, we'll do a part two because of the short nature of the Zoom to limit it to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So before we start this review, what were your initial expectations for this movie? Did you guys play the video games before? Have you guys watched?
Oh, I've played the video games many times before, yeah.
So having that in mind, so what were your initial reactions? First off,
like my expectations or my reaction to the movie?
Before and after, without any spoilers. Were they good or bad? First impressions.
Okay, before the movie, here's the thing: we all know, at least I know, video game movies have a reputation, if you could say.
Yeah.
So I was the trailers looked fantastic, don't get me wrong, but the trailers for the Assassin's Creed movie also looked fantastic, and I absolutely hated that movie. So
wow.
So
okay. All right.
So it's yeah, the trailers look good, but it's a video game movie at the end of the day, so I'm not having that high expectations.
Let me pose a question to you. Do you think, and this is not just for Mortal Kombat, but any video game properties or prior films, do you think it is a fair thing to do to judge a film franchise based on prior work, or to judge it based on the fact that it's starting a new franchise and that it should be judged just based simply on that? How would you approach that?
I mean, I think both things have their place, in the sense where it's your, I guess, previous experience can give you an idea of what to expect, but you shouldn't be limited to that idea, because like you said, at the end of the day, it's its own thing. And like Batman Begins is a good example. Like the Batman movie we got before that was that travesty Batman and Robin, So it's when Nolan made Batman Begins, you could have the easy assumption saying okay, the last movie was like this, and this. So it's I'm not going to have that high expectations, but at the end of the day, it's a different filmmaker. It's a different thing. And I should judge it as its own, So it's and Batman Begins was fantastic, but with video game movies specifically, they have such a reputation. There's little to no exceptions to the rule, I think probably the best video game movie was Sonic, and yeah, I heard that was actually pretty decent,
How about you, Abhishek? What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess my initial thoughts was that, as Shakib mentioned earlier, that the video game movies don't really have a good reputation in general. There's always this feel of, I guess, anticipating kind of like a good movie, since the movie would have so much to go off of already. For example, the Assassin's Creed series, they had so many games to kind of build their story off of, and it still wasn't that good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when it comes and going in the movie, I honestly was I was thinking to myself, I was maybe it's one of those movies that's gonna be so bad it's good. I'm just gonna watch this for the laugh to see how, if it's this bad, then I can just laugh about it after. Mm-hmm. And coming out, I was yeah, this wasn't that good, dog. It was laughable. So it was one of those movies where it's it's just so bad it's good. Just you know what?
Well,
I watched it. I didn't like it, but it was funny enough for me to be caring about the movie as it was going on. That was the fun part.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, sorry.
Because I know for me and my sister watched it together, and the whole time we were just flaming this movie, bro. It was just that's the fun part, just making fun of the movie as you're watching. That was the
so this was essentially a movie where you like to have it like as an opportunity to roast it, kind of.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Interesting.
That was the whole point of the movie for me. It's making fun
Yeah.
of it.
Mm.
Shakib, you wanted to say something earlier?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, after watching the movie though, I think for me the movie was okay-ish in the sense where, like, because I've played the game before and without
Which
spoiling
ones?
it,
MK9 or which ones?
uh I don't remember, like I've watched a lot of gameplay of MK9. I've actually played the first 3 classic Mortal Kombat games.
Damn.
I've
a lot.
played I don't remember if it's X or X. I don't remember if it's X or 11. Whichever one had the xenomorph in it.
Okay.
I played that one too.
Yeah.
So, like, honestly, it's like it's a fantastic franchise. It's like a great fights and everything like that, and like, yeah, it just never fails to be brutal. And I feel like one of the things the movie got right was the aesthetic of the game. I feel like the movie actually does it like near perfectly. Like, yeah, some like looks are different from the movie, but like for the most part, I feel like they really captured the aesthetic of the game near perfectly, which
Okay.
is a plus.
That's fair,
you
yeah.
know?
So, all right, I'll be honest with you. I've played MK9, like the one originally released on PS3, and
Mhm.
I did not watch any of the prior Mortal Kombat movies. For me personally, I don't think it would have done the review justice, so I was gonna review this movie just based on its own merit. And
Mhm.
for me, the video game bar has been so low that because of that fact, that has made me pleasantly surprised, as you indicated earlier. Just the aesthetic things that they've nailed in this game. I mean, in this movie, it made
Mhm.
me feel like I was playing the game. The fatality aspects, the
Mhm.
fights, and just the
Mhm.
look of the characters. Kano, Cabal, and Sonya. These characters, especially, they really stood out to me,
Mhm.
and that that's what made it an enjoyable movie.
Mhm.
But as you said, like the movie, it can't rely only on aesthetics. It has to have
Mhm.
story elements and character elements as well. And that
Mhm.
is an interesting segment which can help us transition to the next part of this review, which is one of the most controversial aspects of Mortal Kombat is the introduction of Cole Young. He's a brand new character in the Mortal Kombat universe.
Mhm.
And without going into the spoilers, how do you like his introduction into the Mortal Kombat universe?
Abhishek, you can go first.
I was thinking that there's like a name for this type of character. I felt like they kind of introduced him in a way that wasn't really that good. His kind of, I guess, his skill level kind of progresses a little too rapidly throughout the movie. That I was kind of confused that he seemed like kind of like a I don't want to say like a Mary Sue character, but he seemed too perfect as like a character because he somehow starts from the bottom and he gets like 0 to 100 real quick. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it felt like they made him more powerful than it should be. It felt like it didn't make sense at some point, and it felt like they kind of really just made him into like this god tier character out of nowhere, just so that it's just for the cool visuals. So
Mhm.
Fair point.
yeah. So to me, it felt like they made him overpowered
Mm.
at a certain point of the film that made the movie less interesting and more anticlimactic.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Now, hold on to that thought. We'll explore that in the second half.
Mm.
But let me ask you guys this. Given that this movie was like very successful, like in terms of the amount of money that it made, do you see enough like character there in Cole Young for the sequels, potential sequels to be kind of enjoyable? Or do you see Cole Young as kind of like that stumbling block, kind of like the way you see Star Wars episode, the new Star Wars episodes where they kind of introduce new characters unnecessarily? Do you see that in the same light you see Cole Young here? It's a heavy question, isn't it?
It is a heavy question, especially since like I'm not sure how they can, without going into spoilers, I'm not sure how they're going to progress his character beyond what the end kind of signified he was going to be, you know, like with him expanding the roster, let's say. So it's like, I feel like as the movies go on, he's going to be faded more and more into the back unless I don't know what they do with something.
Okay.
But
okay,
like,
if I forget, okay, remind me to discuss this in the second half because that's the point we're discussing. Now, just elaborating on this without spoiling, which is very hard to do. If you compare other fighting franchises, right? Like, obviously, Mortal Kombat isn't the first. Like, you think of Mortal Kombat, you always think of fighting all the time. That's what it's known for, 24/7.
For sure.
Other famous franchises that are there in history, you know, Dragon Ball, when people think of Dragon Ball, it's always fights 24/7, you know, and, you know, you can maybe think of other, like, you know, Marvel movies and maybe, you know, Captain America, Winter Soldier, some of the fight scenes that you see there. If you compare all of these fight scenes as a whole, how do you rate the fight scenes in this movie?
You mean like out of 10?
Out of 10, visually, the fight, the stunts, how realistic they were, the gore, was it the right amount of gore, the blood, the maturity, such and such?
Oh, I think this is the Mortal Kombat game I played. So, like I was mentioning before, I feel like the movie got the aesthetic of the game right. And that did include the fights, although I feel like the best fights in the movie were between two specific characters, which I'll get into later. But for the most part, like, I thought the fights were pretty decent. None of them blew me away, except for like I said, between the two characters. And yeah, and I thought they were pretty well done. And considering how the last video game movie I watched was Monster Hunter, and that editing in the movie was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it was nice to see like a movie with good editing in their fights. So the fights were easy to follow and everything like that. They were visually good, and I thought they were pretty well done. I thought they were pretty well done.
Okay.
And I like how one last point I wanted to say. I also like how they were for the most part able to make the fights look pretty like grounded and realistic too, while adding some flair to it.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we're comparing it to the movie, I feel like the gore factor was kind of, I mean, it wasn't on point, but it was like close enough for me to be like, yeah, this is like a Mortal Kombat kind of like takedown. You know what I mean? Like, it was to me, I was like, you know what, because I played MK9. I didn't own or play 10 or 11, but like I watched all the gameplay and all the storyline and stuff like that. So I know all the fatalities, all the brutalities, stuff like that. So, you know, if to me, I was like, you know, they got the gore factor right. You know, all that fatalities and whatnot are extremely graphic in its nature, and I feel like when I watched the film, I was like, damn, yeah, that's gory, dog. Like that's so good. Yeah, so I was like, damn, like that's a painful way to get slaughtered. You know what I mean? So I feel like it was on point with the gore. However, I feel like the kind of the style in which the fatalities were done in the games were not really that well created in the movie. I feel like there's for a lot of characters, they have different ways of killing, different ways of, I guess, showing that aesthetic when they do their fatalities. And I feel like when drawing comparison with the movie and the characters as well, it felt kind of bland and one-sided. I didn't get like that flair. actually, you know what, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save the specifics for the spoiler review that we're due after.
Me too.
But
Me too.
yeah, but in general, I feel like that flair, that the attitude, and like the style that was present in the games for fatalities was not translated over well when we're looking at the movies and how the characters in the movies try to recreate those moments.
Now, you guys talk about an important point regarding the sort of grounded realism that these fight choreographies had.
Mm.
Now, personally, would you guys have preferred, in terms of the grounded reality that these fights had, would you kind of prefer the kind of cartoony style, or were you more satisfied with this kind of grounded aspect?
I kind of wanted a bit of both, to be honest, because like I think I like how grounded the fights were. It made it more like easy to follow, more realistic, and as a result, more like cool looking. But at the same time, like a lot of these characters do have powers, and like it would have been nice to see like a bit of both of that, you know? Like something like, if you remember, like the fight in Civil War between Cap and Bucky and Iron Man. It's like that. I feel like that was a good mix of groundedness and unrealisticness, because it's like, you know, Iron Man has all this tech, Captain America has the shield and a super strength and whatnot, but it was like it was used in such a grounded way, but it still had that flair to it. And there was one fight in particular where I felt like it was like, while it looked good, like I still felt like it was lacking in flair, kind of. And like, you know, Abhishek, you actually bring up good points, because like I feel like, yeah, with certain fatalities, I do feel like they were holding back slightly. Like some of them were really good, but then there were like some in particular where it's like I feel like
you wanted them more to go over the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I kind of understand where you're coming from. Without spoiling it, if you remember in the game, there's there's that character Liu Kang in the game.
Yes.
He has that if I remember, this like very funny comedic move where he uses his legs to just like kick the shit out
the
of
bicycle
opponent.
kick.
Yeah.
The bicycle kick.
Yeah. So you notice how that was kind of in the movie when they did that. I was like, okay, not bad. I noticed that. See, that's not if it was a casual person watching it, they wouldn't have noticed it. But if you were playing the games, you would have noticed it, and you would have had like a glee smile on your face, because that's a nice little detail that they actually put in there. And I actually noticed that. It was pretty cool. When I saw it was a nice attention to detail that they had. So that's a point I wanted to highlight, because that's like something that's kind of like a cartoonish feature over the top, but it's done in a good way.
Yeah,
right?
that
So
I
like,
agree. That I agree.
So it's like, so that's the question of what you said, like you feel like they were holding back, right?
In certain parts, like
In certain parts.
certain parts, but like other parts, I think for the most part,
more of those scenes, as I've mentioned, over the topness.
I think I'll get more into that in the spoiler aspect, because there's one fight in particular that I want to talk about.
Okay. Abhishek?
So yeah, sorry, we're still talking about the fight scenes, right? Since I was deep in
Fight
thought
scenes
about
regarding over the top, cartoony, and grounded.
Okay. I feel like some of there were a lot of ungrounded, like cartoony kind of like fights and kills in this. There were, I think that there's like a sequence at near the end where like a bunch of them are fighting, and there are some deaths in there. I was like, bro, like you could have put a little more effort into like that, you know, the animation. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it could have been more. Yeah.
So what I'm getting is that the consistency of the fighting is kind of like a mixed bag. Like it starts off strong, and then in the middle it kind of like stagnates, and then it picks up in the end. So there's kind of like an inconsistency.
Yeah, it's very
something like that. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I said before, they got I feel like this movie got the aesthetic of the game right, but it's like there were just certain parts where I felt like they could have gone a bit further.
Okay. So after my contribution, I know you guys are dying, but after my contribution, we will talk about the spoilers.
Finally.
So,
Yes, the
All
best
right,
part.
Finally.
so personally, for me, the fight scenes were like the first part of the movie just blew me away. I'll just have
Oh, that was fantastic.
straight
With
up. It was just like
Scorpion and his
insane, man. I was just like, I was having an orgasm, like right there. It's so cool.
Ah,
And then in the like middle part is when it was feeling a bit off because like they were
Mhm.
having those like there was like multiple fighters on screen, and there are some characters that I didn't kind of have that personal connection with, and that's why it might have contributed to the fight scene. And then
Mhm.
again, it picked up, really picked up in the
Mhm.
end.
And it did.
Having said that, we will head to the spoiler discussion. And if you see a time limit in the screen, we will kind of pause and we'll pick up in part 2.
Okay,
So-
sounds good.
The way we can break this off is this. We will break it off into the story overall, what you think of the
Mhm.
story,
Mm-hmm.
best fight scenes,
Mm-hmm.
best characters, the pacing, the overall pacing of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and the talk of potential sequels
Okay.
and post-credit scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start first, talking about the story overall. So, my God, where do I begin? Scorpion, my God, hats off to Hiroyuki Sanada. That man is a legend.
Goat.
He's
Yep, he is. He
he's
is.
60 years old and he's still going strong. So that story in the first 7 minutes of the movie, man, I
Mhm.
felt a personal connection to him. And
Yeah. And I'm glad how they kept that from the game.
yeah. And what I really liked about it is that they added this like unique thing that the Scorpion was representing Japanese culture
Scor-
and the Sub-Zero
Scorpion?
was representing Chinese culture. That's something that they kind of did in the Snyder Cut, where you've seen like different civilizations representing different cultures. Like you had people from India, you had people from the Amazon. So it's a unique thing that they did. And then the story just picked off. Then you had the important thing that they added, the descendant of Scorpion. Now
Mhm.
that was like, okay, not bad. That's not a bad thing that they did, even
Mhm.
though our opinions of Cole Young it may be different, but the fact that they added that, I was like, not bad. And
Mhm.
and the fact that point of that interaction between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, Scorpion is like, remember this face.
Mhm.
And that same dialogue goes in the end, and he's like, remember that face. So it's like that story went
I
full
like
circle.
that. Yeah.
The story went full circle.
Mhm.
It's just the matter of, for me, the biggest issue I have with this film is that you know how the film introduces the powers, like
The Arcana?
every character gets its
Yeah.
powers differently. For example, Kano, he gets that power with like pure fits of rage. That's how he gets that laser, right?
Mhm.
But I feel like compared to that, I feel like how Cole Young got his suit, it felt a bit like cheap, because like literally he just got the power. That's it. Because everybody else, it's like they earned it either by fits of rage. Even Sonya got that power by fighting
Kano?
not Kano, the what was that
No,
character?
it was Kano because she
It was
once
Kano.
she
It was
yeah once
Kano,
she
and then
killed
that
Kano and then she comes back and
Melina.
she
was
kills
fighting
no
Melina.
she kills Melina with her power. She
Okay,
didn't.
yeah, she brutally kills Melina, and she gets that birthmark.
Mhm.
Right,
No.
so-
She killed Kano and then got the mark.
Okay, so exactly. So every character kind of had to earn the right to get that birthmark. So
Mhm.
the way that Cole Young got that symbol, it was just like, I don't know how I feel about it. But having said that, what I do like about Cole Young is that MMA style fighting and that
Mm.
hook blade. that's something I haven't seen in a Mortal Kombat movie or a fighting game. So, with I like that type of fighting. So,
Like with Scorpion's thing.
that's Cole Young's type of that hook blade that he has.
Oh,
under
I
his-
see, I see, I see.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. Now let's talk about the story. Shakib?
Okay, so for me, I agree with you in the sense where at the beginning I really liked them how they stayed true to Scorpion's story, in the sense where it's like the Lin Kuei Sub-Zero killed his entire family and clan and he wanted revenge and everything like that. So I'm glad how they kept that, and like I said, I like the remember this face kind of thing. And yeah, I also agree that adding Cole Young as a descendant of Scorpion, that wasn't a bad idea. I'd say, like, like I feel like it could have been done right, and it could have been good done right. And I'd say overall, like it was meh. Like I wasn't like fully taken with the story in the sense, and I wouldn't say when he earned his Arcana, I wouldn't say it was cheap. Because like I feel like because there's something unique to each character that awakens their power, and for Cole it was like him defending his family. So like, and I think Raiden knew that, so that's why he sent him back. So like I feel like that didn't bother me, but like overall I feel like the story to me was okay. And one thing I will say in particular is I feel like Scorpion is heavily underused in the movie, in the sense where it's like, yeah, he comes in the end, but it's like what made him come in the end and not earlier? Because like in the games, he pretty much gets like resurrected pretty soon, and he has like a big part throughout the story. So it's like, I'm glad he showed up, but it's like, why he showed up then and not later? Because it's like, kind of felt like he could have came earlier, if you get what I mean.
Okay, one thing I'd like to add, and I don't think it's fair to the movie because there's only so much you can cram into the movie.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree.
The fact that we were able to have an insane and tragic Scorpion backstory, that is what I feel like every character should have received in this movie, and we didn't get that. So what the movie was able to do, that was good. However, I feel like it would have worked better as a show, because then you would have gotten a chance for every character's story and tragedy to be kind of more fleshed out. And so when that happened, then the fight scenes would have meant something. Reason why I bring that up is because the connection between Kung Lao and Liu Kang, when they were talking about the fact that they were kind of almost as like brothers, it would have worked out more if they kind of had like this flashback scene in a Scorpion like way. You know what I mean? That is kind of like the detriment of this movie, the downside of this movie. And even more, when Sonya was kind of explaining the whole backstory of the torment and everything, her her missions in Afghanistan and so on, to Cole Young, that for me was the weakest link of the movie because it felt so rushed, and I didn't have a good time connecting to it because the whole time I'm just like, I want to see a fight scene, because that was immediately after the Scorpion flashback. So maybe if it was like they could have done the Snyder Cut route and it was like 3 hours long, and they could have given a flashback not just for every movie, but like
every character,
flashbacks and expositions for also like a proper explanation for like the Netherverse,
the Netherrealm
ornament, so on and so on. They didn't do that properly. They rushed that and were more in favor of, all right, fight scene, here's the next fight scene, here's the next fight scene. So that was to the detriment of this movie. If they would have done that, I feel like this movie would have done much, much more better.
Yeah, I see what you mean there in the sense where it's like, yeah, the characters could have been fleshed out a bit more, but it's like I feel like because the focus was all on Cole, it was like harder to focus on it. Like Cole and the descendant of Scorpion, Cole and the lineage of Scorpion. I think that was like more the focus. So it was like hard to focus on everyone else, which yeah, it really does suck because it's like you aren't as invested with the characters as you should be. Because it's like in the games, like everyone feels important and everyone has their own story and everyone actually feels like they have an important part to play, no matter who it is, you know?
Mm. But as we
So-
know, they can still redeem themselves because in, you know, the Joss Whedon Justice League, Cyborg was just like a
Oh, God, don't
normal
remind me.
superhero character. And then in the Snyder cut, they completely fleshed out his character in such a way where you're actually rooting for him. He's the heart of the movie. So they could always
Exactly.
do that.
They could. Like maybe an extended cut will come out and then it'll be like, oh wow, this is actually amazing. But so far it doesn't look like they're gonna go that route. So like for what it is, it's like, yeah, the story, the characters, it was like okay to me. I feel like you were saying earlier, Abhishek, like Cole Young's development felt kind of rushed, and yeah, I see that, especially then like his like fighting at the beginning, he wasn't as good, you know, but then like yeah, he trains with like Kung Lao and Liu Kang, but it's like I feel like that could have been fleshed out a bit more in the sense where it's like seeing him progress a bit more.
Yeah.
You know, like we're seeing, yeah, I feel like seeing his progression would have been like would have made the story a lot more captivating. And if I'm being honest, I kind of feel like he was, besides the fight with Goro, I feel like he was slightly underused a little bit. Like he wasn't used to his full potential. Not underused, used to his full potential. Sorry. Because like, I feel like with the Molina fight, we see him fight a bit, but then Sonya finishes him off. And then like with the final fight with Sub-Zero and Cole and Scorpion, I feel like more of the focus was on Scorpion. And then like he comes in now and then, but it's like, I just feel like, yeah, Cole's development and use in the movie wasn't really as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
And yeah, for the other characters, yeah, it's like I think it helps that we've played the game, so we kind of care enough about them. But like to someone who hasn't played the game, it would be harder to care for these characters because it's like who are they? I don't give a damn. And it's like more the focus is on Cole. So it's like, yeah, I feel like a lot more could have been done for the side characters, but I wouldn't say the story in itself was trash. I just say it's more okay.
Do you guys like remember that meme where there's like a building that's collapsing and there's only like one thing that's like saving it on the brink of collapse? Do you remember that meme? You're aware of that meme?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically Scorpion, for me personally, this story the story is basically the building collapsing, and the one thing that's holding it together is Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Kano. So that's like
they're carrying the movie.
They're basically carrying the movie. That's basically how I feel. Like, don't get me wrong, I love this movie. Like, I really loved it. But for me, the story, even though it really picks up, like it was good in the beginning, stagnating in the middle, and then it really picks up towards the end. The story for me was the weakest part of this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how I personally feel.
I agree. I agree.
Abhishek?
You're up.
Man, I don't know where to start with this movie, dog.
um,
I think the main thing for me, yeah, damn, I gotta get the mentalist out. The big thing for me was the whole kind of birthmark tattoo thing going on, the whole dragon tattoo. Because in my mind, it's kind of the equivalent of like the pearls in Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief. Like it was just like a weirdly kind of unneeded portion, or like I guess
plot device,
trope in the plot, like plot element that I guess it kind of made things easier for script writing, but in like the actual context of the movie, it just didn't really make a lot of sense. And you know, a big example of this would be, you know, Kano's eye, right? I mean, in the games, you know, is like a
Yes,
cybernetic
cyborg guy.
It's like a cybernetic augment, right? Like he can do it because he has like cybernetics, right? And we know that cybernetics are possible because Jax gets, you know, some sick arms, you know, like he gets. I mean, sure, at the beginning they're kind of lame, but like, you know, eventually, you know, that's a whole different complaint I have. But you know, let's focus on the cybernetics.
Yeah, the story.
Yeah, the story, right? So. And so for me, it was kind of like a cop out, you know. It just kind of made things easier to explain. Like, you know, oh, you know, I get mad, so I can use it. I can shoot like magic laser beams out of my eyes. And I was like, what? Like that seems like a cheap way to explain it, you know. Like they could have been like, you know, as Riz said, you know, like they could have gone more into the character's backstory, like they did with Scorpion. You know, kind of explain, you know, I lost my eye in this. You know, I got augmented by, you know, I don't know, like some advanced clan. You know, maybe they could have dropped like the whole cyborg clan. You know, like do little hints there.
Oh yeah, when the Lin Kuei became cybernetic.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. Like they could have like a bit of an element when, you know, like, oh, like, you know, the cyber Lin Kuei gave me this, or, you know, or something like that, and I guess kind of tease at future possibilities and whatnot, which, you know, it would. And I, you know, personally, I would have liked that a lot better. And also, what else? And yeah, so in my head, it was kind of like a cheap way to explain things, and to me, it didn't really explain Cole's kind of ability. You know, I didn't understand what I guess emotion he was feeling. Was it? I'm not sure. Was it desperation? Was it fear for him to suddenly activate his cool armor all of a sudden? And to add on to that, you know, as we said earlier, we didn't really see much of Cole's development as like a fighter, right? Because the first scene of the movie, or not the first scene, but like
first scene with him,
like he's you know, he's getting, you know, he's kind of getting his ass whooped, you know, he's kind of you know, people are just he's fighting, he's losing, like he's losing, he had to tap out, right? And all of a sudden, you know, he's fighting, what was his name, Goro, right? He's fighting Goro,
yeah,
you know, and he like get ripped apart. You know, he's getting punched out, he's getting smacked around. All of a sudden, his armor comes on, and suddenly he just wins the fight. And I'm thinking to myself, like, Cole, you have armor, but like you don't have the skill necessary to take on a guy like Goro, right? So Goro suddenly getting nerfed.
Okay, I see. All right.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay,
I see his point.
Now here's my thinking.
Okay.
You know how in every different cinematic universes or franchises, there's always kind of like a nuance in terms of power levels. And there's always like, you know, to give you an example, like in the Dragon Ball franchise, there's like, you know, there's the gods, then there's the angels, then there's the Saiyans, and then there's the humans. So there's an understanding that there's like a structure of the type of power levels that you're dealing with. And so that the way they dealt with it is they initially just give, like, for example, the original Dragon Ball was just only about Goku, Kid Goku, and his adventures, his training, and then him meeting a master, and so on and so on. And then Dragon Ball Z, they introduced the Saiyans, and then they developed more, and they introduced the aliens. So why I say that is, do you think the story would have benefited if they simply focused on Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and possibly a couple more characters, and make it like not that much, like compared to the movie that we saw here? You think the story would have benefited? It was just a couple of characters, so that it gives breathing space for more character development.
That's a good question.
That is a great question.
Yeah, see, like I'm about to between yes and no, because it would. I mean, I would even say focus on those characters. You know, maybe even focus on Raiden and you know, and looking at years of the tournament from his point of view would be a good idea. But the positive having like a center was that, you know, we get perspective, right? You know, focusing on Scorpion, then maybe we get to see his perspective from. I mean, I can't remember what realm he was in all those years, but
maybe, another realm.
Yeah, right. Maybe he's watching from the NetherRealm, you know, and we get some of his perspective of him, kind of summarizing the story from his point of view, you know, talking about watching his bloodline and watching what it's like from NetherRealm, knowing that he can't really see his kids, or, you know, watching his kid being dragged away from him like that, you know, like that would have been a cool focus. But I guess then
Mhm.
the other side of the spectrum would be that because Mortal Kombat is kind of established enough so that every character has like its own unique um, backstory and whatnot. Just having like the main characters in there without kind of explaining it in like a cinematic way would feel like a robbery, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you know, for example, right, you know, if you know, just referring to my earlier example, right, you know, you focus on a Scorpion point of view, right, but then all of a sudden you just kind of throw in Sonya Blade. You know, there will be people who are upset
Yeah.
because you know Sonya Blade is a kind of a really
Yeah.
iconic character in the games, right? So
Mhm.
it would feel like we're kind of disrespecting the character and just focusing on one guy when you know this character has a whole dynamic backstory that's been established
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
kind of ignoring it.
exactly.
The
It's
reason
just
reason why I bring this up is because, to my previous point, what the Dragon Ball franchise was able to do so well is that it's well aware of that ladder between the humans, the Saiyans, and other alien races. And it does not disrespect. It understands the different power levels. You'll never see like a human like overpowering a super strong bad guy. That's what
Mm.
the Dragon Ball franchise is well aware of. So why I bring that point up is here. Do you guys think it's a bit disrespectful that some of the human characters were kind of going almost on par or on toe to toe with these kind of like godlike characters? You know, the fact that, a kind of inexperienced fighter like Cole Young suddenly, rising to the occasion and being on par with these characters. Rather, it would have been making, for me personally, more sense where you have kind of Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and some other like Cabal, Melina, and then have these other characters introduced later in the film franchise history.
Well, I think, yeah, I think maybe if we like limited the scope of characters, we would have benefited because like I feel like because in the movie, it's pretty much saying how like the guys from Outworld want to like stop the tournament early because they want to kill all the champions. So it's like only like a certain number. So with that knowledge in mind, you don't really need too many characters to like illustrate that kind of story. And like
Mm,
as the movies go on, you can introduce more and more of these champions now that they've like succeeded in stopping Outworld, So it's like
mm,
I feel like, yeah, I think maybe if they kept the movie on just like on like yeah, like focusing on Cole and then like I think, yeah, I guess Sonya and Jax were pretty okay too. And then yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I think like the amount of characters in the movie was in the main cast was pretty good, but it's like they weren't as developed, if you get
mm.
what I'm saying.
Like, the reason why I bring this up is you guys know that, like, towards the end of the movie, the climax of the movie, there's like
Mhm.
a kind of like team up, like Cole Young is
With Score
basically
and
giving a
Scorpion.
kind of motivating
Mm.
advice, and it's
Mhm.
assumed that he's basically playing this like Iron Man role, like kind of telling all the teammates what to do, what not to do. And in
Mhm.
that scene particularly, I'm just like, really? That it didn't fit well with me because he doesn't seem like the type to kind of be in that leadership type of role. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense. Personally,
Mhm.
for me, I would have liked if Scorpion played that role where,
Mm.
because we're
Mhm.
so well adversed with him, the beginning of the movie, if he played like in a similar to like this is comparable to The Mandalorian and Star Wars Episode 8, where sometimes just doing simple stuff is enough. The Mandalorian is a simple story. A bounty hunter just basically keeping Grogu safe, and he's on his space adventures. And then Star Wars Episode 8, there's so much going on, it's just you lose focus, right?
Mhm.
That's comparable because here I feel like that should have been the case. You just keep it a simple story. Don't
Mhm.
like introduce characters that you're like even the casual the old and the hardcore fans are like, who is this guy? Just have it kind of like, Scorpion, and he's doing the recruiting role, and
Mhm.
that would benefit the story because then the audience would, kind of, it would make it believable that, okay, fine, he's the main character, he's taking the leadership role, it makes sense. It feels organic. Rather, someone like Cole Young, he's playing the leadership role. It just doesn't feel right. It feels weird.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, like maybe Cole or even Raiden could have
Yeah,
been
Raiden, yeah.
assigning who goes to who, like, yeah, I think like because he's one of the elder gods, so it would have made a lot of sense, especially. But we'll talk about Raiden late in the future in like the other segment.
By the way, that's a good topic you brought up, because I was gonna get to the characters,
Mm.
and I have a slight criticism about Raiden, and this is nothing to do with his dialogue or acting. This is more to do with his aesthetic appearance.
Mm.
In Mortal Kombat 9, I remember him being a bit more buff and a bit more like his voice more like menacing.
Mm.
In here, I feel like, I don't know, for me personally, he just looked a bit too skinny, and
Mm.
he didn't feel that much intimidating. So the one thing I feel like Raiden in this movie should have been a bit more like physically menacing, in the same way, like, in the Snyder cut, when he saw Zeus in that flashback scene,
Mm-hmm.
that dude looked buff.
Mm-hmm.
You got him. You know the scene I'm talking about, right?
I do. Yeah. The flashback.
When it's the new gods and the old gods fighting the young dark side.
Yeah.
And so that young Zeus guy, he looked like a freaking bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the type of appearance I kind of wanted for Raiden.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, to be fair, Raiden wasn't really buff. He was more toned.
yeah, like it just from the more MK9 video game that I remember, he was more like physically intimidating because he's like an old god and he's going back in time, so such and such.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
What?
Funny?
Go ahead.
That your criticism for Raiden is like I have the same criticism, but not for Raiden. Is for Liu Kang, dog.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Fam, fam, I don't know, like, bro. When I first watched the movie, like, I'm telling you, like, I saw Liu Kang and I was like, bro, this guy looks like he's like 12. Like, he looks like he looks like a toned 12-year-old. Like, he looks too young. Like because again, I'm going off the games right now. Like I didn't play all the games, right? I played like 9, 10, 11, right? So I don't. Maybe at some point he was, much younger, looked like younger, yeah. But for me, I was like, in like the later games, right? Liu Kang is kind of a baller, right? Like, everyone knows Liu Kang. Everyone knows that this guy can whoop ass like off the rip. This guy got the dragon, got the fire powers and whatnot. But in this film, he looked like he was just like a really like muscular kid that didn't know exactly what he was doing. Yeah, there was a cool scene at the end where like he summons a dragon and he takes out one of my favorite characters in Mortal Kombat. But besides that, I was like, this guy does not look like
Who did he fight? Cabal?
Hmm?
Who did he fight? Cabal? He fought Cabal, right?
He fought Cabal, and then I can't remember the guy's name, but like the guy who can run like, really fast with the cool curves.
Yeah, I
know. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, I know who Cabal is. Yeah, I remember. Just like I couldn't remember who was assigned to who. But
yeah, but I was
just referred to him as the Mortal Kombat Flash.
Yeah, exactly. But when like I think like the first scene, there's a scene where like he's sparring with Cole and like he takes his shirt off. I was like, this guy's like 12 years old. Like, there's no way they're having this guy as Liu Kang right now. There's no way someone built like him is Liu Kang. And they just, I was shocked. Like, I mean, as you said, right? I mean, you're probably right. I mean, I wouldn't have like a Zeus from like Snyder Cut character in his place. But like, I think like kind of in between where, he's a little taller, a little more wider, has more muscle than tone. He has the muscle, but like a good enough tone for me to say, yeah, like those guys, I'm fearing those guys, especially since he has like the firepower. Like to me, so Liu Kang just felt too young, too small. Like he felt like, I don't know, he felt like a kind of like a rookie,
Yeah, he felt too rookie-ish to me.
Too rookie-ish for me.
Here's a thought that I just got in my head. Now, I'm not sure if this would be a good idea or not, but there have been instances in the past where they kind of blend practical effects and CGI. Not just with appearances, but also with fight scenes. Now, do you think it would have been a good idea where they kind of blended the CGI with the practical effects, not just in terms of the fight scenes, but also the visual look, would that have worked in this movie?
I mean, I feel like the visuals in this movie were pretty good anyway. So it's like I don't really see what they could make practical besides, I don't know, maybe like Jax's arms or something like that. But
Yeah, like
But-
kind of like
Yeah, I agree.
like for example, in anime, certain characters when they're fighting, they're surrounded by like an aura. There's like an
Mhm.
aura surrounding them,
I know what you mean. Yes.
right? So for like the godly characters here, like Raiden and Scorpion when he's like in hell, maybe the enhanced CGI could have benefited in terms of the aura surrounding him, so it would have given him like an out of the world type of look.
I mean, I felt like his look was pretty good already. So it's like I don't see the need to add more CGI to it. That's
Maybe
my
this is
opinion
just
at least.
this is just me coming from my I've been watching too many anime fights.
No, they're good fights. They're good
Yeah.
fights.
Yeah. But anyways, so staying on track, how would we rate the characters, like best to worst?
Okay, best to worst. Okay, Abhishek, you can go first this time.
Damn, see, that's a hard question.
Okay,
Yeah.
do you want me to go first then, so you can think about it?
Okay, hold on. You know, I could start it, and you can interject if you have any like opposing opinions. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
But let me ask: Are we ranking them based on like fighting ability, like depth?
I think we're just
All
ranking it
around,
based on
fighting
us.
abilities, story,
Okay.
what
It's
they
like-
add, like anything new they
Mhm.
add to the table. That's
Yeah,
an
like
all-around performance.
All right. You know what? Like, this is a hard one. Shakib, who would you put as number one? I want to hear what your number one.
Me?
Before I say something.
I would put either Scorpion
Mm.
or Kung Lao.
Mm.
Because, well, Scorpion, like I said, I think he had the most story out of everybody in the movie. Well, sort of. You get what I mean. Yeah, and Kung Lao, because I felt like in terms of all the characters, I think they got him right the most in terms of like look and like
Flawless
moveset.
victory. You know what I
The
mean?
flawless and like
Flawless victory.
when he did his famous fatality, I'm like, oh, I'm like they did the fatality. I was so happy when they did that, So like, and like, yeah, I just felt like his move set and like they got everything right with him there.
Mm.
And like he looked the part and everything like that too. So it's like that was really good. And just like one thing that surprised me about him though, because like I remember from the game, like Liu Kang was like the head honcho Shaolin monk, and then Kung Lao was like kind of second, but then this one they kind of reversed it a bit.
Mm.
So it's like that didn't bother me too much though. But I think I really liked Kung Lao. Sucks he died, but like he died in the game too, so that was to be expected. But then yeah, Scorpion, I feel like I liked Scorpion. I like he had a really strong opening. My one complaint with him is like, where the hell were you this whole time? Like why didn't you come earlier? But like, and there's one other thing I want to say about Scorpion, but I'm gonna save that for when we talk about the fights. But
Okay.
that's what I'm gonna say. And then after that, I would say I think my next would be Kano, probably, because I think he was a pretty well written character. Like I liked his dialogue and everything like that, and like his mannerisms were good, and like yeah, I think he was pretty good. Then after Kano, this is a really hard one.
I know. Why you think? Let me interject with my
Yeah, you go.
Let me.
You do
All
that.
right. So I mean, it's kind of a hard order for me, but I know definitely top three. One of them would be Kano, and the reason why for that is because I feel like they kind of got his aesthetic and like his like the environment that like he's supposed to, I guess, project accurate from the games. Like because Kano isn't like a good guy. Like he's kind of like he's like the prick of all the characters, right? He's not the nicest guy. but he also cracks some humor every now and then. But even though it may not be good humor, it's still like, you know what, like I got that. You know what I mean? I understood the reference. So to me, like Kano was like well written in a sense that like I got the feel that like, yeah, like this guy's a prick. Like this guy really like just hates everybody and only in it for the money, just like his video game character was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another character I really enjoyed was again like Scorpion, right? I mean, that first fight scene, because you know I watched the actor who played him in a lot of different movies. You know, like I don't know if you remember, but in the Wolverine, he fights
Wolverine.
Logan.
He was great.
He was like that fight scene for me was like one of my favorite fight scenes of all time because it was
it was so good.
Just like the movement just like the flow of his movement was just so clean for me. I was like, yo, like this is actual like fighting right now. You know, like he's representing his culture properly. He's
exactly
showing off his moves, and you know he's actually kind of beating Logan right now. You know, he's like beating the sword. And so seeing him in this film, I was like, yeah, you know what? I understand his character. You know, I understand he was, just trying to mind his own business in his village. Whole family got killed. He got killed. Went to Netherrealm, got some cool powers, came back. I was like, yeah, that's my guy right there. You know, even in that final fight scene, he was still doing his thing. You know, like he was still beating the brakes off of Sub-Zero in that. So
exactly.
I was pleased with that. And I think my third, and I agree with you on it's not Liu Kang.
Kung Lao.
Yeah, Kung Lao. Yeah, Kung Lao for me. I felt again like they really made his character similar to what it should be in the games. You know, he's always loyal to Liu Kang, best friend of all time. You know, he was always looking out for his friend, and he still had some moves for himself. I admit I did get some Captain America vibes when he
threw his hat.
When he threw the hat, and then he was also fighting Cole at one point for practice, and he was like using it as like a shield, like he was holding it kind of like how was it like kind of like how John Walker was holding the shield sometimes in the Falcon Soldier. And so I kind of got like that feel from him. But I liked the moves. I liked how he hit him with the flawless victory at one point. I was like, he said the line, he said it, and he got a nice kill with it too. So they really wanted to make these characters really show parallels between the game and the movie. And I was like, you know what, I like it. I like what he says. I like how he does it. I really enjoyed how he fought. It felt really smooth. It felt really very much like the
game,
like the game. And there's this one move where I think the first time you see him, like it's like Rich was saying, like the blend between CGI and reality. Like there's a scene where he comes out, does like the spinning move out the floor,
comes out of the ground. Yeah, that was cool.
I was like, yeah,
less about the fight, because we'll get into that later, but more about just also we haven't got into the story as well, because that's also an important factor in terms of ranking. If you consider that in mind, then how would you rate the other characters?
Oh, like
just the
out
fight,
you just
said? Also the story.
Oh, wait, so not taking into account the story.
No, not just the fight scenes, but also the story as well.
Oh,
like taking everything in,
everything. Okay, everything in. So,
like,
damn, this is hard now. definitely put Scorpion. I feel like his story was really good. Fighting was really good. Aesthetic was really good, and like the feel of fear was really good. You know, like get over here, stellar. What else? I still have Kano top 3. Kano, although I admit his story wasn't the best, his fighting ability was nice. His ability to, I guess, kind of like be a nuisance with all the characters, like he is in the game. The environment of it's like him walking in the room and you just know that no one likes him. I was like, they did that correctly. And his dialogue was really good as well. Even though the humor wasn't always funny with me, the ability for him to, I guess, be that character that everyone knows that they have to hate off the rip, and keep and so him doing stuff throughout everything that people still don't rock with him. I was like, he did a good job on that one.
Yeah.
And for my third, I was gonna say Cole, but like, nah, I'm not rocking with Cole like that. You know what? I'm gonna say Sub-Zero, and here's why. It was the Sub-Zero. It's I'm pretty sure it's Bihan, right? It's
Bihan. Bihan is this one's Bihan, yeah.
Yeah. So and I know in the game, right? Bihan is kind of like the colder brother of the
Of the two.
yeah, of the two, right? So you definitely got like that aesthetic from him, that, you know, he's got ice powers, but like he's also cold hearted, literally.
Mhm.
That he has no remorse. He's you know, really bent on just causing like pain and destruction wherever he goes.
Mhm.
You know, so we got like that feel from him. You know, he didn't really talk that much, but you just knew that he was full of hatred, and you know, he just really wasn't rocking with nobody,
Mhm.
which I really enjoyed. And sure, his story wasn't fleshed out that well, like, you know, his backstory, but like I think if you already watched, like, I used to know the games, you got like already had like an idea of what he was about, so it wasn't really that much needed in the movie.
Mhm.
And I think like the fight scenes also kind of, I guess, take that, not like take that into account, but it makes up for that lack of, because we got to see him, you know, creating different weapons for using ice. You know, it wasn't
Yeah.
just him blasting people with ice. You know, he was conjuring weapons like he does in the game. So I feel like with all those considered, I would have Scorpion, Liu Kang, and Sub-Zero as my top 3.
Actually, there's one. I want to interject something on Sub-Zero. Actually, like he's one of the characters I actually have mixed feelings about, because yeah, because not in the game, in like the movie.
Okay.
Like,
okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, no, in the movie, in the game, he's actually my main. But like, but what was I saying? Because I have mixed feelings, because what I liked about him is, like, Abhishek, you mentioned, like, they get his move set really right, because like there was like moves he was doing in the movie, and I'm like, I know that move, I've used that before, and it's like, you know, just like I was recognizing his move set. I was like, he was like his, like a lot of the movie did. It got the aesthetic right, it got the look right, it got like the visuals right. But when it came to his actual story, though, I felt like there was like a lot of much needed context that wasn't there. Because like, for example, like he killed Scorpion's family and clan, and it's not clear why. I mean, like, you could hint that's because, like, yeah, he wants to stop the prophecy and whatnot, but like, one thing he also says is for the Lin Kuei and everything like that. But it's like, why does the Lin Kuei hate Scorpion's clan so much? Like, why? Or like, there was like a lot, like, we don't understand Sub-Zero's drive that much. Like, he felt like he was reduced to like a minion almost.
Okay, to be fair though, the Sub-Zero actor, he said that he's contracted for 4 more movies. So that's some of the articles that I've been reading. So there is enough there for them to kind of build on his Sub-Zero backstory. And now I will begin and say, and kind of play devil's advocate and say, in this story, you needed that intimidating guy. And sometimes it's not always the best thing to kind of give every sort of information. Sometimes it's good to kind of keep a certain character a mystery. And so that's why I kind of like Sub-Zero, the fact that he was so intimidating everywhere he went with that.
Yeah, that they got right.
Yeah, with that freezing, he went wherever he went. You know, when he kind of butchered Jax's arms, and then he went and fought the other characters as well. He kind of like remind me of kind of like, was giving Freddy Krueger vibes, kind of like the boogeyman guy you see in a horror movie. He was playing that similar role. That's what I really like. He was giving me the intimidating presence. Now, in terms of ranking the characters, I'll go off this. There's a god tier category for me. And then there's the second, the mid, and then the lowest of the low. So god tier category for me has to be Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Those two are god tier category.
For sure.
You could just have a movie just based on those two characters.
And you should.
Yeah, for sure. And then below them you have Kano. Now, obviously, as you guys said, he doesn't have the strongest story, but sometimes you don't need a good story to have a good character. Like, just his mannerisms and his banter, it would just like
I think that's what captivated.
Yeah, every time you were getting bored from a scene, I feel like Kano was like the audience. You know what I mean? I was like, what does that do? What does that do? Did you just shoot fire from your hands? Like he
Mhm.
was the guy that was like he was basically the audience. He was kind of like the
Mhm.
fourth wall. He was kind of
Mhm.
like doing a Deadpool kind of thing. And
Mhm.
so he was kind of playing that role in the Snyder Cut where, the Flash was kind of providing much needed humor and comedy. That's what
Mhm.
Kano's job was.
Mhm.
And so below Kano, I would say Sonia.
Mhm. Yeah,
Sonia
Sonya was
was,
pretty good.
yeah.
She was-
Aside, like when she was doing the exposition scenes, I was like, it was meh. But
Mhm.
when she was doing like her fight scenes, especially her back and forth between Kano, that was like okay, not bad.
Mhm.
Especially in the desert scene, that fight
Mhm.
scene between Kano, I was like, okay, not bad.
Mhm.
And then below Kano, I would say Liu Kang, not
Mhm.
Liu Kang, Kung Lao.
Kung Lao, yeah.
Kung Lao. Kung Lao is there, and then Liu Kang is below him. I would have. I had a little bit of a hard time connecting with these two initially because, as I've said, I would have benefited. The audience would have benefited if they had those flashbacks.
Like if there's more backstory to them.
Right. Yeah, I didn't get that. And
Mhm.
then below them, now again, this is a bit controversial. Below them is Raiden.
I
And
don't blame you. There's one thing I want to say about him too, but
Yeah,
I'll
and
let you finish.
again, it's not necessarily because I hate Raiden. It's just because we didn't get much of Raiden. Because in the MK9 movie, if you remembered,
The game
Raiden,
or movie?
MK9, the video game.
Mhm.
In the MK9 video game, Raiden plays a crucial role
He
because he's
does.
basically going back in time and basically interacting with the past selves, reminding the past selves that something catastrophic is going to happen in the future, and it has
Mhm.
to do with a certain character. You know what? I'll say it. It has to do with Shao Kahn.
Yeah.
So
Where the hell
because
was
of
he in the
that,
movie too? I don't
yeah.
know. But yeah,
So
that's
because of that, here his role is kind of minimal.
mhm.
So below Raiden, I would say Melina. Oh my God, Melina. They did her really dirty here, because in the video games she has a meaty role, and so here she only says a couple of lines, and
She's a
so
minion basically.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to
true.
say like she keeps just because she keeps said like she was like one of those characters that was kind of like a glorified side character that like everyone kind of knew who she was, but she only was really like a servant character.
Mhm.
So below Melina, it's the Netherverse, the bad guys, and the very last one is actually no, the second last is Cole Young's family, and then Cole Young. So that's my ranking.
Mm.
Notice
One
how
thing.
I
Sorry.
said Cole Young's family ranks higher than Cole Young.
That's crazy, bro.
That is actually
Take it in, fam. The daughter and the mom had more depth than Cole, bro. And they had little screen time. They had like little screen time. That's so crazy.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that is actually so funny. But
Yeah.
one thing I want to say about Raiden, he is actually another character in the movie that actually disappointed me, because it's like you were saying in Mortal Kombat 9, he had a really big role, but like he wasn't. He felt more like a less badass Gandalf in a sense, if you get what I mean. It's like, yeah, he was all guide, but no. He was all bark, but no bite, you could say.
Yeah, I would say that like when they I'm pretty sure when the scriptwriters were like, oh, Raiden's a god, like they really made him to like a god character where like all he kind of did was just kind of watch,
Yeah.
maybe interjected every now and then, but like in a minor way that didn't really have that much significance.
Yeah, exactly. Like I felt like, yeah, he didn't interject too much, and like that's one disappointing thing. One thing I'm really disappointed in the movie is that we don't ever see him actually fight.
Yeah, like bro, like in the games, fam, this guy was a baller.
He was.
It reminds me of in Infinity War, the first part. You saw how much of a badass Thor was, and then
Thor or Thanos?
No, Thor.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you see how much of a badass Thor was in the first part of Infinity War, the part one, especially with his entrance in the Wakanda battle, and then in Endgame, they made him fat. I'm just like, what are you doing? They made him like, they just like kind of depowered him in such a way, it's similar to what happened in this movie, where they kind of depowered the badassery of Raiden, what you're
They
familiar
did.
with from the games.
They did, and plus in Endgame, there was at least a story reason for it, and he redeems himself at the end of the movie. With Raiden, though, it was like we don't see his full potential ever.
Yeah. So moving from the character ratings, I think this is maybe our favorite part of the movie. Let's judge the best fight scenes,
Okay.
because I know you guys been dying to talk about that. Let's.
Yes, sir.
Before I talk about that, I actually do have to go soon. So is it okay if I just say my part and then like have to hop off? Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
We're almost ending the review, so we're getting to the final part. So
okay, perfect. So for me, like I said, the movie got the aesthetic of the game really right. There were a few parts where I felt like they were holding back, like with Liu Kang's dragon fatality. I felt like, because like I swear I remember, if I remember correctly in the game, he summons an actual dragon and then it just like chomps the guy in half. But like with what's it called, in the movie, they just like giant fire dragon and just burns the guy. So it's like I felt like they could have went a bit more with that, but like other than that, though, I felt like the fight scenes were pretty well done. Like I felt like how they kept the gore really authentic. I really like how Kung Lao's fatality was my favorite in that movie, because like I always liked his fatality. So it's like when I saw that in the movie, like I said before, I was like, ooh! So like I was really excited.
you're talking about the one with the hat. He does the hat.
Yeah, where he buzzsaws the guy in half. Like I love that, and like I love how they kept Scorpion's like fire breathing. You know, that was really cool. And like I said, with Sub-Zero, like I like how they kept his like moveset really authentic. Like I said, like when I see him do certain moves, I'd be like, I know that move. I've used it before. Or like with like other characters, like I really like Jax's fatality. He legit crushes the guy's head, and like Sonya's when she make that hole in Melina's chest, and you see just her heart come out, and like that was, I really liked that. You know, but like I think the final fight with Scorpion and Cole and Sub-Zero, I already told you I felt like Cole wasn't used as much as he could have been, but with Scorpion, I really liked his fight. Like I really liked how he looked and everything. Like the fight scene was really well choreographed and everything. But for some reason, he doesn't use his Hellfire during the fight. He uses it after.
Okay.
But that's where I feel like they could have gone a little more over the top, in the sense where it's like, and all three of us have played the games before, so we know he has Hellfire moves that he uses during fights. So it's like I just don't know why he's not using them during the fight, but he uses his fatality, and like he uses it when he has to thaw himself out of the ice.
Okay.
That was like a big I'm just like, why is he not using his Hellfire? Like it could have been, I felt like that fight could have been a bit better, but it still looked pretty good. And like I said before, I was really disappointed we never see Raiden fight once. Because like he has such a variety of moves he could use. But like we don't see that for some reason. So like that was overall, I'd say the fights are good though. Like it's entertaining, and I feel like it's one of those movies where you don't go for the story, you go for the fights.
Yeah. Abhishek, quickly go through your points, because right after this we're gonna go to the concluding part of the movie.
All right, so about fight scenes real quick. Fight scenes. Okay. First scene, baller, no cap. Like that was definitely like top one. Like that was the best fight scene. The choreography was majestic. I guess like the whole kind of slice and dice, kind of like going from one man to another, slicing him up, next guy, clean. Like that was definitely a clean scene. Second favorite, definitely like the very last scene with Cole, Sub-Zero, and
Scorpion.
Scorpion, right. So I like that one a lot, especially because I like the whole kind of feel that Sub-Zero created in like the atmosphere. Like he created like kind of like that, like, damn, like this is like serious, bro. Like his family's frozen up, whole thing's covered in ice. It's like there's about to be a cold fight. You know what I mean? You see with the puns right now? Yes, sir. You know what I mean? So to me, I like those two scenes are definitely like my favorite. Choreography for the Sub-Zero fight at the end was also very good. I there's also, I think I also kind of like I enjoyed the fight scene where it was like before the one with Melina in it, but it was when Liu Kang, Kung Lao, when he like, sacrificed himself, like that, like kind of like that fight scene was, I thought it was tolerable. I thought it was like, it's all right. I mean, but like it wasn't perfect, but to me it was tolerable only because I got to see more I guess Kung Lao action. I always enjoy the whole the really sharp hat moves, like and just hit, chopping a bunch of people and just coming back to him like Captain America. So I like that one a lot. But number one definitely has to be the
opening
first one.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, same for me. I have to agree with you 100%. That first fight, the opening scene, the fight between Scorpion and Sub-Zero in the first scene, opening scene of the movie, that was number one. And then the second fight, the last part of the movie, where Ko Young and Scorpion are teaming up, fighting against Sub-Zero. Last three, and then the fourth one is when the hat one, where Kung Lao takes his hat and fights the who was he fighting with the hat, the fatality.
I can't remember her name. I don't know. I was talking
But
to my
basically,
sister about this.
the one I'm talking about, with the fatality with the hat, Kung Lao.
I know what you're talking about. It's
the
that thing with wings. I forgot. I
was talking to my sister about it. She's like, that character has been in Mortal Kombat in like so many games. Like she had no idea who she was.
Okay. So very quickly, let's go to the last part of the review. So we're gonna try to fit two things: the pacing and potential sequels.
Okay.
So I'll start right away saying what I really love is that right at the end of the movie, you got that nice throwback of the Mortal Kombat music.
Yeah, that was
remix.
cool.
I really love that. That was amazing. And then second, the Johnny Cage post-credit Easter egg. I was like, okay, I see that. I see you. That's nice. And what I hope to see is the introduction of Kitana. I want Kitana. My God, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And lastly, I would like to say, like, again, this is the movie's biggest issue is the pacing.
Yeah, I agree.
First 15 minutes, really good, and then stagnates in the middle, and then it picks up in the second half. So overall, my personal opinion, I would give it a nice 7.8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, that's being generous.
I agree with you, Abhishek. For me,
I'm not giving it that ranking. I'll say that much.
Sorry, for me, I'm just gonna say this, and then I'm gonna actually have to hop off because I have to meet someone else right now virtually. So, but I guess for me, I like the music at the end, where it's like a reference to the Mortal Kombat theme, and I like how in the sequel, like they're probably gonna introduce Johnny Cage, and I feel like he's gonna be one of the more likable characters of the movies. I really feel that, and I really hope they introduce Shao Kahn, because I'm like, where the heck is he? Because it's like Shang Tsung is Emperor of Outworld, but it's like, where's Shao Kahn? I hope they explain. I think there was even a hint at him in like one of the paintings or something like that, but like, I don't know where the heck he is, but like, I hope we see that. I hope we hopefully see more Scorpion, like maybe even Quan Chi. I hope we see Quan Chi.
Yeah. Out of 10, what would you give this movie?
And out of this movie, and I agree with you, the pacing was a bit off. So I give this like 4.5 out of 10.
I
was debating between that and a 5 out of 10.
Whoa!
I was debating between that and a 5 out of 10.
Wow.
Matt made choice between passing and failing. Matt said he's gonna fail the test. That's crazy.
Saqib, your 4 out of 10 is basically this character on screen beating the shit out of Kabal.
Pretty much. It's like I said, the movie entertained me, and I like the aesthetic, but it's like you said, the movie is more than aesthetic, and it's like,
damn, bro.
Like
That's the
I
biggest gap we've had in a while. Wow.
like I give this like a 4.5 out of because like or
That's less than Wonder Woman 1984.
yeah, no, I like it. I liked Wonder Woman 1984 more than this.
Wow. That's
But like
insane.
I think, yeah, it's just like, yeah, it had good aesthetic, but it's like this. I wasn't feeling it with the story, and like so many
Okay,
characters are
okay.
underdeveloped, and like so much context wasn't given, and so many things were reduced to like minion level, and it's like it just, yeah, and it's just like the movie didn't see its. I feel like the movie didn't really get its full potential.
Okay. So, Abhishek, your thoughts, and then we conclude.
All right, so my thoughts. I personally thought the pace of this movie was kind of fast. For my
It
liking,
was.
I feel like Cole as like a character was in my mind a little overwhelmed with everything. I think in like in almost like a span of 24 hours, he found out one, there are different worlds. Two, there's such thing as a Mortal Kombat tournament, and you know, three, his was it like his ancestor is this super skillful like master sensei from like who resides in a whole different dimension right now. So in my mind, I feel like the pacing was fast. I don't think Cole. I think a lot of the problems was the pace, because I feel like if there was more time, maybe even like a montage of Cole training to you know, better his fighting skills, then that would explain you know, how he was able to take on Goro and other major key players even with the armor on.
Yeah, exactly.
So out of 10,
I like what you said. Like he has the armor, but he doesn't have the skills.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of 10, what would you give it?
Honestly, I give it like I'll give it like a 5.9, and here's why. I feel like it passes as an entertaining movie. You know, like you sit there and you're sitting there, yeah, you know, like you sit there and you're like, you know what, it's not horrible. But like,
actually,
like
I'm gonna change my ranking. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10 instead of a 4.5. Actually, now I'm thinking about it.
So yeah, so I feel like
it's a review of Mortal Kombat. For you guys, it's more like a roasting session.
Exactly. See, you watch it for the
Abhishek especially. But like, yeah, it was entertaining. Sorry, Abhishek, continue.
Yeah, so yeah, it was entertaining for me, but it wasn't like it's not one of those films that I'm gonna real shoot. I'm probably never gonna like go back on my own time and watch the whole thing again. Like unless me and my friends want to watch it just for some laughs, but like I'm never gonna like sit down and be like, you know what, I'm gonna put me on some Mortal Kombat, you know. Like that's not gonna happen. So I feel like it passes as like a movie, but as a fighting movie that's kind of based on characters from a game that I like. It doesn't do it well. The pacing, the new character doesn't do it for me enough for me to say that like, yo, like this is like a good movie. You know, it's a movie that passes, but it's not enough for me to go back and watch it again.
Exactly. I will say this though. For a video game movie, it is not the worst, and that is actually a praise for the movie. That is actually a big praise for the movie.
Yeah. I will conclude by saying this. This is my last 2 cents. Now, there are tons of worse adaptations, anime or video game to, you know, live action adaptations. The worst of the worst, and a crime to humanity, is Dragon Ball
Evolution. I knew you were going to mention that.
My goodness, that was the worst of the worst. They made Goku a high schooler kid, and I can go on and on. That was the worst. Here, at least, I can see that they have the heart to heart. They are at least maintaining effort in terms of aesthetics. Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they were the best. They rushed some of the, you know, the backstories, but I can feel and in terms of again, this money made a lot of money. Their competition was an anime movie, Demon Slayer. So, you know, I feel like there's definitely sequels here if they can improve. Now, if they can take their criticisms and improve upon it, I feel like this franchise can develop into something more. Something really more. So it's definitely not the worst. It's not the best, but you know, it's a solid 7.8 for me. But again, you guys again raised some fair points. So I think we all got to say our points and our criticisms and our roasting. So with that being said, this is the conclusion of the Mortal Kombat review / roasting session. So, I hope you guys had a good time. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Have a good life.
Yeah, you know what's going on. Valley 2. Wow. Hold on, we're like done, right? So
Yeah, we're done.
All right, bet. All right.